if it will let me click go live. Oh, I was clicking go on Instagram. So weird. Hi, everybody. It's one of those technical difficulties. Just give me a moment. All right. I have to edit the key for the Instagram.
You do whatever you feel like doing. I'm so bad in technology.
Well, it doesn't seem to be working, but whatever. Let's go. Hey, everybody. It is Fran and Dima on Fran and Friends. On Sundays, we always have our parenting series. It's called The Game of Parenting and How to Play It. And so today we're going to be talking about mindset, but Dima likes to go down and talk about our key points. So, Dima.
Sometimes. No. Yeah, I'll just give a reminder why we reached the mindset topic, because when Fran invited me to do this, and she poked my mind and she pushed me because I'm not a doer actually. I'm not a doer. I have so many dreams in my head, but I always need that person who is the person who makes things happen. So that's you, friend.
Oh.
So when we started, we met through LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and we've always shared our stories of parenting and of our journeys and how the way our parents taught us had influenced the way we acted with our children. But before that, it actually influenced the way we see the world, the way we chose our partners, the way our life was going. And when we were talking about the game of parenting and how to play it, we were like, we need to put in the hands of parents a series that parents could go to and seek answers about what's going in their lives. And the
Mhm.
main topic was, how can we create a healthy relationship with our children? And that was the main topic at the beginning. It's like, how can we do that? Like, okay, we all dream of having these relationships, and we started moving down the lines, and we talked about, um, what did we talk at the beginning? We talked about the behavior, whether it's nature or nurture. We talked a bit about motivation. We talked about life in general, and today we want to talk more about the mindset and about how what we have learned, how we apply it, how we see the world through that lens, based on our stories, based on the people who come to us seeking help. And I always like to start with your story, and it's really worth repeating it every time, because there are so many people that are joining us, new people that are joining us. So I always think that stories really get people to relate and to really want to listen to us. So can you hear me?
Well, as Dima mentioned, Can You Hear Me is actually the name of my book over there. So how it started is a scuffle between me and my daughter. It was really one of where she was trying to exert her independence and her voice, and as a parent, I didn't really know how to facilitate that. What I did know how to do is overpower her voice and not give her an opportunity to speak, because though that is how I was parented. And so the way that I thought parenting was structured is that children needed to listen to their parents without questioning why they're doing what they're doing. But she thought it was advantageous to not follow the status quo. So one day I asked her to take out the trash, and she was like, "Why don't you take out the trash? You're not doing anything." And as a parent that has come from a background where back talk is not accepted, the first response for me was, "Oh, she wants me to pop her across her face. This is not acceptable." Because the line of thinking was, if something is out of order, you put it back in order, whatever means possible, and so, or necessary. And then when I, at that same time, when I decided I was actually going on a self development journey of wanting to learn how to parent better, wanting to learn how to communicate better in a healthy way, not where I had to be forceful, but really looking at how I can create dialogue with my children, because they were high schoolers and they were getting ready to become young adults. So these behaviors would be something that would be established in conversations that they would have with others. And I went into therapy um, because the initial point was to fix my daughter.
Yes.
He's the one that was the problem.
Yes.
But come to find out during therapy, I was the issue. I was the one that needed the new perspective. So I wrote about that experience on what that looked like on my journey, trying to identify these new keys and tools that I would use to become a better version of myself and for my children.
Yeah. And that's the core of what we're talking about. It's like most of us think that by imposing on our children what to do, we think that we're saving them from the trouble of the world.
Mm,
And I see this every single day. I'm sure you see it around your relatives, when we're in the mall, when we are in the train. We see people trying hard to protect their children by imposing on them what to do, not knowing, based on what we talked about earlier, but I'm going to go through it quickly so people can um, can relate to what we're talking about. So from 0 to 7, all what we're doing is being the role model for our children. They are like a sponge, and that sponge, whatever it sees, it absorbs. So if we see our parents angry, we start uploading a program of angerness, of
mm,
being angry, then of anger, all the different aspects of anger. So
mhm,
if we see our parents smoking, we're going to smoke. If our parents are alcoholic, most probably we're going to be alcoholic. Or maybe in all cases, there's either we're going to be fully like that or fully not like that, because we see what the problem is. But
right.
mostly we're going to be like them. And at the age of 7, we start using those programs. I always compare this to a mobile phone. A mobile phone has a touch screen. The touch screen is our consciousness. Yes, we cannot use the touch screen if we don't have applications.
Yes,
So who puts the application? It's us, the
we do.
carers that are always in touch with these children that put these applications. So they take at age 7, they start touching the screen, repeating and repeating and repeating and playing with these applications to a point that they're 12 years old. They're almost like the consciousness is almost done, like almost designed,
Mhm,
and they go into life. And that's why we see teenagers becoming they rebel against life. They don't want things like as per the status quo, or they follow instructions the same way as their parents are instructing them to do. So during that time, when we arrive to age 12, a lot of parents still take the responsibility for their kids' action, because in their opinion, what if she's answering me like this, she's going to answer the teachers, she's going to answer people on the street. So I want to protect her. And this is where you said I wanted to do something because I didn't want her to be that way.
mhm,
And when was I was in the train like a few weeks ago, and I see this woman on the phone. I think the daughter was in a taxi or in an Uber. The woman had the application and she knew where her daughter is, and she's trying to explain to her where to go. Yeah?
okay.
If you, I'm telling you to shut up and listen to me, you idiot. Yeah. Because she is in stress. She feels, maybe she feels, I cannot judge, but I'm looking at the situation. A
Mhm.
mother, worried maybe angry. I can't tell the difference. She's trying to get her daughter to listen to her by using a language that maybe for her it's the only way I can get her to listen to me.
Mhm.
Okay. It went on for 20 minutes. And and she's like, stop, listen to me. Why you're angry? And the daughter would say, you're angry. And no, I'm not angry. I'm talking normally. So we can't hear ourselves when we are really in that subconscious feeling where we really need to save our children. But
Mhm.
here's the news. If we are that angry, our children won't listen to us. If we call our children names, imagine, I'm calling my daughter names to teach her. Like, until I'm telling her you're an idiot, and
Yeah.
I want her to listen to me. So, children after the age of 12, they have their personality. And
Mhm.
one of the best ways to motivate and have this nice influence on these children, on these teenagers, is to create that partnership with them. It's like a business, and I really mean it, a business relationship. It's a friendship. Yes, I am against the idea of we need to be the authority
Mhm.
in order um, to teach our kids. No, we don't need to be the authority. We need to be that caring person who's telling them, listen, I trust you, because psychologically, they are in that lifespan development where they want to feel that they belong. They want to feel that they have their own personality.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
the
like I
best, yeah,
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier with my relationship with my daughter, I went into the therapy so that I can help them. What I didn't also realize was when I began to help myself, um, I also created a trust because there was a part of my character where my kids couldn't trust me. So if there's no trust, we can't communicate because how do I know what you're saying is going to be true, because the actions have to align up with what we're doing. So the kids are observing what you're doing, and the kids aren't dumb. They are really, really smart. We don't give them as much credit as we should. And it was when I aligned my actions with my words that healing took place. And then they could also open up a space in themselves to, okay, I could see that I can trust mom more. And now we can have some dialogue where I know she's not going to harm me in the conversation, with any type of like, ver, uh, what do you call that? Like verbal, I wouldn't
abuse.
be, yeah, verbal abuse or
Yeah,
any
yeah.
slurs that, would cause them any harm. So,
Yeah, and we think we're not, because for us, like, I'm 45. So whatever I think of is based on 45 years of learning. We
mhm,
come to kids who are 12, 15, 18, and we talk to them in a language, and we expect that they will understand the 45 years language. No, our kids have a different way of thinking, a different way of communicating things. So when we come to them and we try to say things that we don't mean it, I'm sure we all love our children, but the way we communicate, we don't mean to harm them. But because their language is different than ours, that's why they get harmed. And you mentioned something, it's the trust. Trust
mhm,
doesn't come, like, it doesn't get parachuted. And a lot of um, parents, I would say, they would fake that they trust their children. Yeah, exactly the same way they fake how they trust themselves. And going back to when you said you started with therapy,
mhm,
and because you wanted to know how, like, what's wrong with your daughter, and that's when you realize that it's not about your daughter, it's you who's seeing things from that a certain perception of things that
for
is
the
getting you to feel the way you feel.
yeah. Like,
Yeah. So
we're both the same age. It is the 45 years of information, so definitely going in there with the broom and sweeping out the stuff that I don't need or no
Yes,
longer work.
yes. And we, the title of this episode is We Cannot Fake It. Stop trying to tell your children something that you don't believe in because you would say, it's fine. I don't need to trust myself, but they need to trust me. No. And that's the core of the game of parenting and how to play it. It's we cannot be the leaders of our kids. We cannot be the right parents for our kids if we don't start from the inside out, if we don't understand our own weaknesses, if we don't see our own weaknesses and accept them.
Hmm.
Because most of the time, we don't accept our mistakes. We keep on holding them on our back. And we said last time, like, if you don't heal from a scar that somebody caused, you will always keep bleeding on someone that didn't cause it.
Hmm.
And
Totally.
this is why it's important for us to really look deep inside, be aware of the most dominant thoughts because they are the reflection that we're getting in real life. So results are a reflection of the most dominant thoughts. And if we don't change those thoughts, we can't change the results. So if anyone is listening to us today and
Yes.
thinking, oh my God, I hate this life, let's say, I don't know how to deal with my kids. Some parents are dealing with kids, with teenagers vaping, using drugs, using alcohol, using smoke, addicted to, I don't know, maybe addicted to certain behavior, maybe addicted to being angry, maybe addicted to social media. And all what we do is we keep on seeing that and we keep on criticizing that. Remember, before you can change that, you need to look back and say, in your life, what have you been doing that you've been criticizing yourself all the time that you reach today and you cannot not let go of what your child is doing wrong?
Totally.
And
Totally.
and the good news is once you are in peace with yourself, you're going to understand your child and you're going to understand that their behavior is a reflection of their most dominant thoughts. So, in order to change the behavior, taking them to jail won't change the behavior. Punishing them won't change the behavior. The only way to change this behavior is to understand the gap. And the gap, I'm trying to link it all together, yeah? And the gap that they have is an emotional gap pushing them to have this type of behavior. So, how do I fill the emotional gap? It's us that fill their emotional gap when they are young. And unfortunately, most of us have an empty emotional gap and we try to fill it by that control over our kids. So if we are controlling, we feel that I'm satisfied. But no, if you're controlling, if you're slapping, if you're using bad words, you're just because you have that gap and you want to feel heard and you don't feel that you're heard because before you were not heard when you were younger, you try to take it in being in control of your children. And that's how it all gets messed up.
Mhm. It all goes back to that default programming that you
Yeah.
mentioned. Like, we don't really realize, okay, hey, hitting our kids, having, telling them bad words. A lot of this is projections of ourselves, of insecurities, of who we are, of what we think that our kids are doing because of whatever we're really thinking about ourselves. The question would be to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm scared? What are the fears? What are these underlying fears that we have? And how, like you said, it is about controlling our thoughts. How can we replace these fears that we are projecting onto our kids with something that with a positive affirmation?
Yes. And the positive affirmation, here we move into the mindset. And before we can say a positive affirmation, because a lot of people, I hear a lot of people saying, I wake up every day, I spend 1 hour exercising these positive affirmations. But the affirmation cannot, hey, the affirmation cannot really be, cannot work for us if we do not change the way we are seeing ourselves first. So here comes the mindset. And I would like to highlight a, a topic I learned in psychology, which is really nice.
Okay.
It's called the broad and build theory. Okay. So this way we can explain to people why, when we feel there is danger, what what we do sometimes is not what we really want to do, but we feel that we are really chained. Okay. So there are two mindsets. There's the positive, let's say, positive mental attitude and negative mental attitude. Yeah.
Okay.
And the way we are raised, it's either we adopt a PMA, positive mental attitude, or NMA, negative mental attitude. Okay.
Okay.
What happens is when we are negative, our mindset narrows. So it's like our mind gets overwhelmed, and we've heard it in different contexts. Some people say, uh, "Fly, f- sorry, fly,
Afraid?
fight, or freeze."
Yeah. Yeah. Fight, flight, or freeze. Yep.
Fly, fight, or freeze. That's
Mm-hmm.
the narrow mind. That's the mind that is negative, because let's look at it in a biological way. Yeah, when we are upset, our cortisol level goes up. When the cortisol level goes up, means there's danger. All our energy is actually waiting to be used to run away.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
The immune system needs energy. So if I am upset and worried and trying to find solutions, all my energy is going towards running away. So the solutions will not be there. We'll talk about this in a bit, but my
Mm-hmm.
immune system stops. So that's why a lot of times we see when we are very stressed, we get sick. And if we're sick, if we're upset and overwhelmed for such a long time, then this is the time where we have really chronic illnesses. Okay, so that's called the narrow type of thinking, because I'm also always focused only on the problem and I cannot see anything other than the problem. That's why I lose control, because I'm in front of a child who's acting in a bad way. In my head, instead of thinking they are on a growth path, I'm thinking, oh, I have an impolite kid that need to be what do you say, educated, that need to be slapped maybe. That's the
Yeah.
only way I can see, because that's what I'm used to. So my mind jumped into the subconscious, which are the habits that I'm used to, and it's the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, when I have a positive mental attitude, what's going to happen? I'm not going to feel, my energy is going to be there. Yeah. It's not channeled in one direction. So my body is maintaining itself because the immune system has enough energy to operate. Okay. So I'm at rest. What happens is my mind broadens. It looks
So,
at different solutions and tries to pick the solution that works best for this problem.
so when cortisol levels go up, that means that we have more capacity to gain the solution, or is it
Now,
reverse?
when cortisol levels go up, it requires a lot of energy for us to run and flee. So,
Oh, is
yeah,
okay. Cortisol level is what the fight, flight, and freeze
yes,
response comes from.
yes. It goes,
That's
so our
okay.
energy, it goes to the limbs
Okay, so
because
there's no brain power going up to identify any solutions. It wants a quick,
nothing.
immediate, like physical impact.
Yes.
Got it.
So
Okay.
all my energy goes to my limbs because I either need to run, I need to fight, or I
Mhm,
need to stand, like make the effort to stand where I am in case of a snake. So
mhm.
if I have a snake in front of me, I either take something to kill the snake, I either run away from the snake, or pretend I'm an object so the snake doesn't see me.
Mm, gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
But
Yep.
when the cortisol level is normal and my dopamine levels are up, my oxytocin is up, the serotonin is up. What happens? I have a broad way of thinking. So I'm not stressed and I can choose, I can see. So it's not narrowed, it's open, and I
Okay.
can see all the solutions that are in front of me. So when we are dealing with kids, if we see ourselves always fighting, always trying, like it's suffocating, we need to look back and see, what do I do when my child does something wrong? Does my heart sinks? How do I feel? How do my physiology feels?
Mhm.
Because this is going to tell you what is your dominant thought. So, as we said earlier, what we're trying to do is trying to put importance on the mindset and how it could help you really build good relationship with our kids. And the relationships we build with our kids are not only between us and our kids. It starts between me and me, and once this is at peace, it goes to your it goes to your children. And this is where the need of, yeah, maybe therapy. There are many ways to do that. Yeah.
For sure.
Because sometimes in therapy, you go back to the past and you start going through all these incidents you had in your past and you want to learn. From my school of learning,
Mhm.
I, I don't really care a lot about the past except for knowing, acknowledging something happened.
Mhm.
And that thing that happened affected my life one, two, three. I am who I am today. And this is, we can jump into mindfulness.
Mhm.
So I am who I am today. I have only this moment to create a new past. Let
Okay.
me let me repeat. I have a past full of pain. A lot of people that are stuck in the past, what they're doing, they're always repeating the past and they're always thinking in the past. So every single day I wake up thinking about what happened to me, and today I'm creating a new past that is similar to yesterday. In case I'm not happy with my results, I cannot keep on doing the same thing and expecting something different. As Einstein said it,
Yeah.
it's the peak, it's insanity. It's the definition of insanity.
Yeah. Doing the same thing
So,
over and over again, trying to
and
expecting a
expecting,
different result. Yeah.
yeah. So, what we need to do is, okay, that happened. So, today I have today. How can I do something different? Because the seeds I'm planting today are going to show up tomorrow. So with my style of dealing with these things, I look at the past as an event that happened and changed my life in a way, but I cannot change the past. I can only change the present, and I can make an influence on the present to change the future.
Mhm.
So I take that and I start digging and seeing what are my strengths.
I like
Because
that.
each one of us is born with a strength. And with every strength, we have a weakness. And that's why a podcast like this wouldn't work if I want to do it alone, because my weakness is building this thing. But my strength maybe is having the content and sharing my knowledge. So we join paths just to create something. And this applies to everything in life. So as a parent, if I'm stuck with my weaknesses, yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm saying I want to fake it and show my child that I can be the real leader, you cannot fake it. They're
Mm.
going to show their weaknesses. Your weaknesses are going to, it's like water. s- when the water, when you have a leakage, you would never know where the leakage is, because even though your water is dripping now here, it could be traveling from a very long, like very wide place where you have a small crack coming in.
Mhm.
So we all have those cracks. And if we try to hide it, we think, oh, it's not showing here, but it's going to show somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's getting clearer why the change starts with us and why we need to be really intentional, to be mindful, because our energy is actually absorbed by our children. And even if we fake it, We cannot fake it for long, and they're going to feel that there is something missing in the relationship with us.
Yeah, the kids, I think, in my opinion, from my experience with my children, when I became transparent with them and vulnerable with them as to what I was doing, what I was experiencing, what I was feeling, they one, they did try the manipulation, the emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
Um, but as I set boundaries, they knew that I was coming from a place of authenticity.
Yes. And they imitate us
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, yeah, and they did. They did.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that when I started to, I guess, be truthful with myself, they could also do the same thing.
Yes. And even when they manipulate us, if we look deep inside, where did they learn it from?
Of
Us.
course, from us parents,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
that's how we can acknowledge that this is manipulation. So
Yes.
it's such a nice, it's a dear subject to me because I have three teenagers. Yeah. And I really hit rock bottom, I would say, at the age of 37 when I wrote Intentional Reset.
It's,
So when I wrote Intentional Reset, actually, I wrote it because I thought if someone told me what I knew today, I wouldn't have like gone through all these mistakes. Now, let's be clear. Even if we teach our children everything, there's gonna be something they need to learn. So we're not here to really not let them fall, but they might fall. Um, the hurt from the falling would be less damaging if we introduce them to those ideas about life. Because
mm-hmm.
once they know them, we will be somehow building their resilience in order for them to be like a sponge or like a rubber. I'll give it another visualization. They'll be like a rubber ball. Why I'm saying this? If you are a steel ball, what's going to happen when you fall?
You're gonna fall heavy and hard,
And you're not going to bounce back.
right?
If you are a rubber ball, what's going to happen? You know the information.
Yep.
You prepare that it might happen to me. When it comes, it's not a shock. And what's going to happen? You're going to hit, but you're going to bounce back. And a
Yes.
lot of times, it's you bounce back much higher than where you were.
Yeah. You absorb it. You absorb the hit more than you would if
Yeah.
something that was heavy, a metal.
And that's why I'm an advocate of introducing resilience programs in schools, prerequisites at work, because in Australia, for example, we have a big issue when it comes to absenteeism, with people with mental health, with productivity at work, with efficiency at work. And if you look at it all, the new generation, especially in the Western world, it looks when we look at the media and we look at the news, although we know there are problems in the world, we think that it's not going to come to us because we are in countries that are, we think that our countries do not have problems. But when we learn, when we go through them, yeah, some of us went through problems and we know we have problems. But trust me, those kids now in the new generation, imagine when they're focusing on their social media, if they're focused on their bodies only, all they get on their social media is body and fitness and how can I be look better. And the minute
Mm-hmm.
I am emotionally not happy and I'm eating more and I start getting a bit of pounds, then I start looking at myself, comparing myself to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another point we need to talk about. It's that comparison that makes our children vulnerable. And when we put resilience on in our programs, when we, even at home, when we tell them about what we went through, when we tell them about the problems we went through. And in the book, what I did, I really wrote different stories because I want people to really read and know I'm not alone. We're all going through troubles. And this is the only way we can grow through life. So if you are sitting there doing nothing all the time, you have the money, you have, let's say you have the money, you have, but you can't sit and do nothing because your brain needs to have some activity, your body needs to have some activity. So we become stagnant and we live a dead life.
Yeah.
So that's that's basically what I believe in, introducing resilience. And one of the points that we're stopping is comparison. And let me tell you a story. And I love this story because it makes so much sense. I'm not sure if we talked about it before, but that's fine.
Okay.
So a gardener had two pots. One pot was had cracks, and the other pot didn't have, was perfect. He would go to the well, put water in both of them, and comes back home. The perfect pot, he will use it. He will have the 2 liters that is meant to bring home, and the other one will have only one.
Mm.
So while the pots were talking together, the perfect one looked at the one that is cracked and said to it, "You know what? You should be ashamed of yourself because you're not doing your job well. Look,
Mm.
every day the gardener goes to the well, he comes back home, he has 2 liters from me and 1 liter from you. You need to resign and you need to talk to the gardener to be honest with him about like your weaknesses." So the cracked pot starts overthinking, and that's true. I'm not doing my job well, and he's right. I need to resign. The pot talked to the gardener and said, "Listen, I feel so bad because I have cracks and the other pot is perfect, and it's not fair for you. Maybe you should replace me and get a better one."
Mm.
So the gardener took the pot all the way to the well and turned back and said, "I want you to look on the way back on both on both of my sides. Look at this the footpath where I'm walking. On the side where you are, there are patches of flowers. And
Mm.
every day when I put water in you, I expect that you're gonna you water the plants around, like next to the path, and that's the only way I can have flowers on my table."
I love that story.
Yes, and this is a story of self-love. This is a story of appreciating our weaknesses,
Mm.
because when we see our weaknesses as strength, because some weaknesses compared to other people are weaknesses, but compared to the special person we are, they add value somewhere.
I love that.
Yeah.
Growing flowers somewhere.
So why we spend our time comparing ourselves to others, thinking, apple to apple, because he's a human being and I'm a human being? No. And in my book, I have it as a circle where I say all of us are perfect. We're all a full circle. Yeah.
Mm.
But that full circle is divided into 4 areas. I try to simplify stuff. Yeah. So
Okay.
you have your work and finances, you have your family and friends, you have your love relationships, and you have your health.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the four cannot be like 25% each.
Why? No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they, every area has its seasons.
Right.
Okay. They complement each other because they they create the 100% in our lives. Yeah.
Right.
But when my health season is low, you will see your friends, family, everyone around you like supporting you. And maybe your work, you can't be as much productive as before, but maybe you have a job, maybe you don't have a job, and that's why you are a mother, let's say. So it's our roles in life influence the way that circle is divided.
Mm.
If I'm a mother, if today I am dedicated to being a mother, my work life might be very small, might be 10% of my life. Yeah. My my health might not be at its ultimate. Maybe it is 40%. That's 50%. And my family and my love to my husband is another 50%.
Mhm.
Okay. But if I am an athlete, my health would be maybe say 70% of my life. Maybe I would give 10% for love, 10% for work, and 10% for my relationships and my family at this point of my life. So,
Okay.
other than the season of my life, there's a season of these areas of my life. Okay. So,
Okay.
imagine when two people come and compare each other, like their lives to each other. They think that, oh, we're human beings, they have their life and I have my life. No, each one of us has a priority. And that priority, it gives me the guidance to divide my life around that priority. So to I'm gonna take the example of me, for example. I graduated from school. My other friend graduated and decided to get married immediately.
Mm,
I decided to do architecture. I went into architecture and later on built a family. She has kids that are older than me. Her way of thinking is different than me. We are still friends. And both of us are perfect for ourselves in that specific time. But to come and compare, look, her life is better, or she's earning more money, or she has a life, I can't do that because I cannot compare myself to someone else based on background,
mm-hmm.
circumstances, and priorities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does this make like it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the choices that we make are the results of what we are living today.
Yes. And
So,
being in peace
yeah.
with the choices, it's what I want to highlight.
Mm,
It's instead of being so tough on yourself, just take it easy. Forgive yourself. Because once you forgive yourself, you will forgive other people. You will forgive your children, and you will accept that they are on their learning journey
hmm.
and they will learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. I think that's probably something we need to sit and talk about a little bit is about forgiving ourselves on that journey. Because I think maybe some people don't know what that looks like, what self-compassion is in that space,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, I mean, because I know I did that for a very long time. Like, dang, if I would have made these decisions,
Yeah.
we would have been a little bit further on in life. But I think we talked about this before. If we are in a certain mindset and thinking back then, whatever that mindset and thinking was, there's no way that we could have taken the knowledge that we have now and applied that back then because we didn't have that to begin with. So
Yes.
the compassion would be is knowing that you're in a better space now and that, like you said earlier, previously, that we can create a better future for ourselves by being present in this moment and knowing that we're making different decisions for where we want our life to be headed.
Yes. And let me recall that I think we talked about this, but I'm going to recall that small example that will convince whoever is listening to us now. When we are in school, when we are in year one, our knowledge for math is so limited. It's just the basics. And it's really, really hard to make to sit the exam, to take good grades at the start because we feel it's a completely new system to us, right?
Mhm.
We're in year 12 now. In year 12, we are on a different level of math. Looking back at year one and seeing your grades at year one, what you're gonna say? Oh, what an idiot I was. How I didn't understand those simple concepts.
Yeah, yeah, you cannot blame
And
yourself.
that that's what we do everything to ourselves, every day to ourselves. We're in year 12 now, okay?
Mhm.
Looking at year one, looking at our kids and telling them, oh my God, that's so easy, that's so simple. Or looking at ourselves when we took that wrong decision and we're making fun of ourselves and saying, I'll never be a good person because look at the decisions I've made.
Totally.
No, we need every single stage of our life to teach us something about ourselves. And it's like steps. First step, we know the basics. Second step, we're growing a bit more. Still something we don't know. And sometimes our personality styles, which is our next episode is going to be about personality styles, about disc personality styles, is about understanding that there are things we cannot change. There are things that they are our identity. They might not work for the neighbor.
Oh
They
yeah.
might not work for my parents. They might not work for my daughter. They work for me. So I accept me and I accept the other people around me, and I learn how to deal with them based on their personality style. So that's why it's very like not exercising compassion is a recipe for having a really troubled life, because our lessons are meant to be to push us to upgrade our life, to upgrade our knowledge one day at a time, 1 second at a time. So I
Yeah.
invite whoever is listening to us today to just stop and think, how am I with myself? Am I too harsh?
That's a
Okay.
good
And
question. I love it. It is a good question. I mean, I think maybe I mentioned this before. Like, I'm doing this mirror work book by Louise Hayes, and she
yes,
talks about the inner critic part and how the inner critic always has something to say, but it's really learning how to tell the inner critic, like, hey, it's really not your time to talk.
yeah,
Right now, this is the part of us becoming more aware of what we're thinking. And as you mentioned earlier, and really noticing, like, oh, are these negative things or these critical things or judgmental things that we're saying to ourselves something that we would say to a best friend if we were trying to console them?
yes,
And if it isn't, then that would be a pause for us to um, write that thought down, cross it out, and replace it with something that you know that is truthful.
yes, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. It's important. It's so important to really be aware. It all starts with awareness.
Hmm.
It all starts by seeing, experiencing the dominant thoughts. And that dialogue, I I once had this technique, and I tell people to use it. So my name is written DIMA, yeah? And in my head, because I had a lot of things that were stopping me from doing stuff, there are voices, the critique inside telling me not to do this, not to do that. And when I became aware, I started really wanting to change that, or at least watch the voice without interacting with it. So I created in my head Dima as
Say that
DE.
again.
What did I say?
That you said, watch the voice without
Yes,
interacting with it.
yes, yes.
Oh, that's
Watching
so
the voice.
beautiful.
Yes, and I created this in my head. I have the Dima DIMA and Dima DEEMA.
Okay.
Okay, the DEEMA is the new Dima. It's the new way of thinking,
Okay.
and DIMA was the old way of thinking. So what happened is, when that Dima talks, the Dima talks, I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what I want. I'm not choosing to take that, and I would put the new thought in.
Yeah,
And this is really a very powerful way, because the voice will always be there. And sometimes the voice is your identity, but the identity that you didn't choose, the identity that was parachuted.
yes. Oh my God. That's so good. It falls into what I was doing earlier with another mirror work lesson. And it was talking about identifying the behavior, right? Whatever it
Yeah,
is, and
yeah,
writing it on a little post-it note. And when I wrote it on the post-it note, I take a look in the mirror and I address the whatever the behavior was.
yes,
And when I addressed it and then I would tell myself with the positive affirmation, I now release you and I let you go. I'm safe.
Yeah.
And just having that conversation about addressing what that behavior is or what that fear was, that I felt like inside of me, there was like this new renewal of, oh, I don't have to be scared of that anymore.
Yes.
And it felt really good. It felt empowering.
Yeah, yeah. And to add to that some power, if we're doing that, we should not expect that this is going to happen. It's going to change us. That's the press of a button. On my book, I have this button, and I really called it intentional reset for one reason. It's not that I'm telling people you can reset in one button. What
Hmm.
I'm saying, we can feel better now with all what we have, with all the baggage we have. We can press that button and say, you know what? It's not fair. I want to feel better. However, the programming took years. It took years. So let's say in my case, I became aware at 37.
Mm,
So how do I expect 37 years of my life to be changed in one day or in one year even?
mm,
So while we're doing this work, compassion starts when we do the same thought mistake again and we stop and we put it at bay.
yeah.
First time and second time and third time. What's happening when I see people coming to me and say, "But it didn't work," and I said, how much time did you wait? How much time did you repeat that? Oh no, I wanted to wait from the first time. It it doesn't work that way. It
Mm,
requires us to repeat and repeat and repeat. And to convince people again, let me give you that example. Our neuropaths, the ideas that we believe in, are like a rope. It's a thick rope.
mm,
Okay? A thick rope is made of, I don't know how many thousands of hairs. Yeah?
yeah.
What we are trying to tell people today is we want to try to change our mindset, to improve our mindset, to upgrade our mindset.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it requires, like as a per the mobile, I need to unload the app in order to download the new app that I want in my life, right?
Love it. I love the analogy.
But in behavior, it's
Hmm.
not an application that I take and then I put another one. It's while this one is being deleted, this one is being uploaded. And that's what I mean by the rope. So every day I exercise a new thought. Take one hair from here, put it there.
Hmm.
Every time I do it, that's another hair and another hair. Now, my conditioning is 1 million times faster than my dreams and my aspiration. So I'm gonna have a mistake. I'm
Hmm.
I'm gonna be under pressure and I'm gonna forget and I'm gonna remove from the new one, put it back to the old one.
I love it. I mean, Dima, I share with you all the time. With my relationship with my daughter specifically, it took me a year, maybe almost two. I had to keep showing up.
Yeah, yeah,
I
with
had,
no
yeah.
unconditionally.
Well, I still had conditions, but it's this learning process that you're talking
Yeah,
about, taking off
yeah,
those strands and trying
yeah,
to transfer them over to the other side. And I failed a lot of times coming back
yeah,
because, okay, I mean, you think about the little operation game where you're trying to get a piece and put it inside in the right place, and you get the buzzard
yeah,
because, hello, you put it in the wrong
yeah,
spot. So,
yeah,
it, the learning curves that we have, trying to reprogram ourselves into better
yeah,
thinking, and you said up leveling, upgrading ourselves, that is going
yeah.
to take some time.
Yes, it's gonna take some time and it requires driving over and over again. And we always mention that the driving, how we drive, it's we start, we don't know anything. We have an instructor that is teaching us bit by bit by bit by bit. We
Mhm.
repeat, repeat, repeat. Sometimes we make mistakes. And at some point, instead of being very aware of our driving, looking slowly, that's it. We're talking, we're conversing with people around us, we're looking around while we are driving because driving became
Automatic.
a nature,
Mhm.
automatic.
Yep.
So compassion can become automatic, self love can become automatic, mindfulness, reminding ourselves of today, of being enough. So I mentioned the circle, I mentioned the 100%. What does the 100% mean? I am enough and I
Mm,
have enough for today because my main question that saved my life, that changed my life was, what if today was the last day of my life?
mm,
Would I be that picky? No, because
mm.
if really today was the last day of my life, all I want is to wake up every morning thanking God for what He has given me, all the opportunities, all the lessons I've learned. I want to sleep knowing that if I don't wake up, I'm going to be face to face with the power I believe in, which is God. And many of the people that would be listening to us would have their own internal system.
Mhm.
But for me, I'm always saying, if we are here believing that there is an afterlife, which is, as a Christian, I believe there is an afterlife. So when I reach that afterlife, first of all, I need to be ready, ready, ready for it. And I don't want to be there looking at whatever and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so overwhelmed with what's going with my life, with that temporary one, that I forgot that I'm going to step to this one later on." So this is a beautiful way to just convince people to live the moment and be ready every single day, because we don't know when this is all going to end.
No, we definitely don't. I wish we knew.
Mm. Yeah,
Do you think if we knew what the expiration dates were on our lives, if we would live more intentionally?
I don't want to know. Because once you know, it loses its value. It loses its yay. Like, the excitement for me personally is by not knowing. And I learned to have joy while experimenting. At the beginning, I hated it. I just wanted to know what's going to happen. But
Mm,
imagine if you have everything, if you know what's going to happen, you sit and you relax and you just do nothing and you wait till it happens.
mm.
So I want that interaction where I feel like, okay, if I do, but we have power because we know we're planting seeds.
Okay. I love it. I really love the analogy, the whole crack pot thing. It's so beautiful. If I didn't have you to water my pathway, I'd have no flowers for my table. I love it.
Table. Yeah.
Well, darling, we are going to wrap it up. It is 2 minutes till the time. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we close it up?
No, what I would say is, next week I won't be in Australia. I'll be in Lebanon. So it's
Okay.
going to be a different vibe.
It's a
We're going to
Father's
see,
Day.
sorry.
It's Father's Day here in the US.
Next week.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. We'll keep everyone posted about our next episode, if it's next week or the week after.
Okay. All right,
Okay,
everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Dima, always a pleasure having you.
thank
So
you.
we'll see you guys next time. This is episode 6 of 10, and next week will be episode 7. We only have 3 more left. Have a good
Talking
night,
about
everyone.
these personality styles and how
Yes,
they can help us build healthy relationship through communication.
what Dima said. Bye, everyone.